Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Joteka Edie, and I am the CEO of Full Circle Strategies. And I am so excited to be joined by my colleague and dear friend, Joshua Dubois, who is the CEO of Values, Partnerships, and Gauge. We're honored to be working with the Oprah Winfrey Network and national partners to talk about one of the most important ways to change things in our communities and our lives, and that is voting.
That's right, Joteka, and good evening, friends. Listen, you all, it is go time. With less than a week until Election Day, the stakes have never been higher to ensure that every single vote is counted and all of our voices are heard. And listen, y'all, tonight we are bringing the Own Your Vote Coalition, you all, back together. We're going to hear directly from Oprah Winfrey Live. We're going to hear from national community leaders and some very special guests about what's at stake in this election. We're also going to talk about what we can still do together to get out the vote.
That's right, Joshua. Reproductive freedom, inflation, voting rights, gun control, and climate change are just some of the top issues that are on the ballot this year. Voting during this midterm election means that you can elect into office those who care about the issues that matter to you the most. And it's so important, everybody. It's just so much at stake in this upcoming midterm elections. It's 36 gubernatorial seats up for election. It's 35 United States Senate seats up for election, and all 435 United States House of Representatives seats are up for election.
Every single seat in the House. And listen, y'all, it's going to be a great program tonight. We want you all to participate. Please jump in the chat. We see you in there now. Let us know where you're from, what organizations you're representing. Head over to Twitter too. Use the hashtag #OwnYourVote. Again, that's hashtag #OwnYourVote on Twitter. I'm going to be checking live throughout the night and responding to people. We're going to start off in just a moment with some opening remarks from OWN Network President Tina Perry. We'll then move into a panel that Oprah will lead with some amazing voices after her opening remarks. We're going to hear commitments from organizations that are themselves owning the vote. And then Oprah's going to take us home at the end. Listen, we might even have a few special guests throughout the night. So make sure you stay on for the entire call, because you're going to hear things that you can practically do right now, right where you are, to ensure that your vote is counted. Before we begin, I'd like to invite my good friend, Bishop Leah Daughtry, a nationally recognized activist, political strategist, author, and faith leader, to open us up in a spirit of prayer and connection. Bishop Daughtry, over to you.
Good evening, Joshua and Joteka. It is good to be with you this evening. From the book of Isaiah, the 58th chapter, the 12th verse, some of you will rebuild the ancient ruins. You will restore the foundations laid long ago. You will be called the repairer of broken walls, the restorer of streets in which to dwell. Let us pray. O God, creator of heaven and earth, lover of peace, freedom, and justice. O God, our nation stands at a crossroads, choosing between hatred and love, war and peace, justice and lawlessness, equality and inhumanity. Help us in this moment to discern your voice. Help us to know your direction. Help us to choose the way of righteousness, of justice, of equality, of fairness. Help us to choose our children. Help us to choose our old people. Help us to choose the least, the last, and the lost, the locked out and the left behind. Help us to be clear-eyed and focused, dedicated and determined in our resolve to make our community, our nation, a model of justice, character, and love. This fight is hard, God. The enemy is stronger, but you, our God, are stronger. We ask you for some of your strength to handle the hard work of justice, strength to fight the fight of faith, strength to wage righteous, passionate war against those who every day negate, dismiss, demean, and diminish us. Give us strength to love. Rise up in us, God. Make us bold and unafraid. Give us clarity and direction, vision and wisdom, so that we can heal ourselves and be healers to others, so that we can give and receive, so that we may save and be saved, so that we may love and be loved, that we may bless and be a blessing, and help us to take the next step. We will take the next step. We will move forward. We will raise our voices. We will be bold and unafraid until every child is safe on every street, in every state in this country, until this nation reflects your love, your grace, your mercy, and your justice. For those whom we love and for ourselves, for the work that must be done, for the bridges that must be built, for the children who must be saved, for the sick who must be healed, for the last who must be first. We ask for strength for the journey, clarity of thought, sharpness of vision, singleness of purpose, and the courage of our convictions to make the promise of America the practice of America. May we build the old waste places. May we raise up the foundations of our future, and may we be called repairers of broken walls and the restorer of streets in which to dwell. Amen, amen, and amen.
Beautifully said, Leah, very powerful. May we indeed find the strength. Now I would like to welcome one of the architects of the Own Your Vote initiative and the president of Own TV Network, Tina Perry. Tina, over to you.
Thank you, Joteka. It is so wonderful to be here tonight, and I am just thrilled to see how many of you took time out of your schedule to join us for this town hall. I've been glancing at the chats and just reading all your excitement and energy. It's wonderful. So thank you. OWN launched the Own Your Vote initiative in 2020 with a nonpartisan Get Out the Vote campaign to empower and support Black women during the 2020 election cycle. Now, the goal was to inspire and equip thousands of voters and community leaders with specific steps they could take to register votes, request absentee ballots, and mobilize voters throughout their community. And as a direct result of this campaign, infused with powerful national town halls, as well as informative social content, more than 250,000 women engaged in conversations about the power of their vote. And Black women showed up in droves, with the 2020 presidential election having one of the highest voter turnouts rates in history. And our ongoing goal with this pro-social campaign is to connect people to urgent political action and give their concerns a powerful microphone to spotlighting crucial community issues. Now, to date, over 25 organizations have joined us at OWN as community partners, and they've helped us galvanize voter support across the country. And that is something we are so very proud of. And given the significant drop of voter registered engagement that happens during midterm elections, OWN and our national voting partners aim to build on the success of our past campaign by informing voters of the massive importance of casting their ballot every year and owning their vote. Now, today, OWN and national voting rights leaders are joining forces again. And this is for a very important conversation about the midterm elections and what is at stake on the ballots right now. So as you create your voting plan for this critical 2022 midterm election cycle, we hope to be of service to you and to help inform you on the everyday issues critical to Black women and families. And before we get started, I'm going to share an incredible, powerful, and moving Own Your Vote video with you.
When your heart is broken down,
Pay attention to what the people who claim to represent you are doing in your name.
take your broken wings and fly.
The government cannot do it alone. It takes all of us.
When your head is heavy low,
They represent you, and if they've not done right by you, then you have a responsibility
tears they keep on.
to send them packing.
The only way to address a crisis is to bring the power of the people together.
Still we rise. Progress is on the move.
When they go low, we go to the polls.
Keep your head up, carry on.
Every time I see that video, I get more and more inspired because I know how much history we all share and how powerful our voice can be in invoking the change we want to see. When I think about the voices encouraging us all to seek greater good for all of us, the first person that always comes to my mind is Oprah Winfrey. On previous town halls, she has told us what the power of voting means to her. And she also told us the why behind what she does in the community. So it is my honor and privilege today to let you hear from her again on this Own Your Vote Town Hall. I welcome Oprah Winfrey.
Tina, thank you so much. Celebrate you. Everybody, Tina's soon to be welcoming her firstborn child. I think you're 8.5 months now.
Yes, ma'am.
A much long awaited and wished for pregnancy. So blessings to you, blessings, blessings. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It is really a pleasure to be with you all again this evening as we come back together to own our votes. And you all know I'm generally an optimistic person. And I, of course, believe in the power of the human spirit to overcome any challenges. But on this day, November 3rd, 2022, I'm also very, very, very concerned. So we last convened Own Your Vote in 2020, and together we all had a real impact. And what we didn't know then, but we know now, is that the results of the election we all fought for would be rejected and denied by millions of people in 2021, led by the former president who lost and tried to take the country down with him. And what we didn't know then, but we know now, is that people would try to take over the United States Capitol on January 6th. What we didn't know then was that Roe versus Wade would be overturned and that laws would be passed, making it harder for Black people to vote, for people of color to vote. So what we didn't know then is that the level of rhetoric in this country would get so dark, so destructive, so divisive that it would motivate someone to attack the Speaker of the House's husband in their own home. We couldn't predict all of that then, but we do now know it. And what we didn't know then is that candidates who support all of this madness, because there is no other word for it, and I know that many of you often feel it yourselves, like, has the world gone mad, lost its mind, forgotten what's right and wrong? Is there no discernment? With this election denial, dangerous democracy eroding rhetoric, devastating policies, we didn't know that we would be on the verge of all of these people being elected in states around the country. It's unbelievable to us. And here's why tonight matters and why all of this matters, because we keep talking about democracy on the brink, democracy on the brink. Yesterday, President Biden says we can all feel it in our bones. But what does that actually mean? We say it so much, it's become like white noise. It means that if we do not show up to vote, if we do not get fired up in this moment, the people who will be in power will begin making decisions for us, literally. Decisions about how we care for our bodies, how we care for our kids, what books your children can read, who gets protected by the police and who gets targeted. And right now, you have a say in these things. We do. But if we remove your own voice from the process, others will begin speaking for us. And what will they be saying? And may even remove our rights to have a say in the future. So I am concerned because that is where we are. And the question now is, what are we going to do? So tonight for me is all about us being prepared being prepared and having a plan, because that's how you fight back. We work with some key voting organizations to help create this checklist to make sure that everybody going to the polls knows their rights and the new rules in your state. Because as the states were changing the laws, my great fear was that this day would come where people would get to the polls and not even know the laws had been changed. So it's vital that we make a plan, turn in our ballots if we have them at home, vote early if your state has allowed that. And when we head to the polls, that you bring a photo, really a photo ID, and remember to call 1-866-OUR-VOTE if you have any issues or challenges. It is so important to have a plan and to know what your rights are, because the days of counting the marbles in the jar are over. The tactics are much different now, and we have to be ready. So tonight we're going to talk about what that looks like, with a spirit of love, with a spirit of generosity, with a spirit of caring for our neighbors, but still being willing to fight back. We have some amazing voices, important voices, who are going to share what we can begin to do right now to own that vote. And everything that we're saying here tonight, you need to tell 10 other people. So let's get into it. Let's learn how we can rally around each other and hopefully begin to change the direction in which we're headed. We have some experts who are going to show us the way to own our vote. Let's move into the panel, if you will. So I want to introduce you to, I'm excited that we have on this panel Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, U.S. Representative of the 3rd District in Ohio, Chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, and one of the top voices in Congress speaking up for Black women and for all of us about the right to vote. LaTosha Brown, one of the country's leading activists and the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. LaFonza Butler, the president of Emily's List and one of the nation's top voices on reproductive freedoms. And Damon Hewitt, president and executive director of Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under the Law. Janae Nelson, hello, the president and director, counsel, Legal Defense Fund, who, along with Damon, is fighting for voting rights in the courts and in communities around the country. So I'm going to begin with this question. The midterms are massively important, Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, and yet there is typically lower voter turnout. Even with all of this talk about our democracy being at stake, it feels like the fire is not lit with so many people. Can you tell us specifically why now it's more important than ever? What's really at stake is what we want to hear. What's at stake?
Absolutely, Oprah. And let me thank you for inviting all of us, this powerful group. Number one, it is important for us to vote, but I think first we have to give people something to be excited about. Why am I voting? So I think we have to tell them what they got, that their vote delivered the first ever Black female president, Kamala Harris, the first Black woman on the Supreme Court, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. We got lower prescription drugs. We got historic funding for HBCUs, the largest congressional Black caucus in history. We like to say shots in the arms and checks in your pockets. And the first gun violence legislation in 30 years. So if people have to get excited, they have to feel it matters. We have to tell them, like in Florida, a person lost the election by 2 votes. Every vote counts. And if we do a roll call for what's at stake, we have to make sure that our seniors understand Medicare is at stake, Social Security, our rights for women, you talked about it, education, student loan. We have to get young people excited to tell them that student loan relief, that Pell Grant, the environment, housing is on the line. You know, I served with John Lewis, and he reminded me every day that democracy, freedom, and justice was on the line. Well, we have to remind people, it still is right here today. Systemic racism, voter suppression is real. And we have to make sure that we tell them, like you said, don't trust anybody. If you have a question, dial 1-866-VOTE.
Vote. Yeah.
People died for the right to vote. And we have to remind them that when we vote, we win. And that's part of it. We have to make them understand. People don't want us to vote. They want to tell us the wrong day, don't come vote. And we have to explain to them, especially as Black folks, We have to remind them that COVID-19 was real, but it was the people who looked like them. It was the Congressional Black Caucus that made sure that we passed the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. When so many of our babies were being killed, it was the Congressional Black Caucus that they voted for that locked arms and went into communities and passed out literature. It's the Congressional Black Caucus and those folks they can elect, the largest in the history, that we're friends with all the advocates that are on this call today. We stand lockstep together. We want them to feel the passion. You know, I want to tell them, I got arrested and I felt like Fannie Lou Hamer. And it's important for them to understand that we need, you know, I always like to say you have to be old school, but new school. We have to make sure that we're on TikTok, that we're using the social media at their level to tell them all that too could be at risk if they don't vote for the people who stand up for them. And it's so important for people to vote on election day. And we have to keep reminding people of what they are receiving. I told so many young folks, I said, did you get that check? And they said, oh, I got the check. I got the money for my child care. I said, if you don't go vote and vote for people who have your interest at heart, you won't get that again. And they were shocked. The best thing we can do is give people information. They don't connect their check for Social Security, their check for child care. They don't connect when they walk into that county building that it was the federal government that sent them those dollars. They don't connect when they're in the barbershop and the beauty shop that that check that they received was because someone stood up against the folks on the other side of the aisle where I work and repeatedly vote against every freedom and every right that we have been fighting for. So information, getting people galvanized, meet the young folks halfway, remind them if they're on government support systems, that's at risk. If they're on a Pell Grant, remind them that's at risk. If they're in streets, tell them that they want to have private jails and incarcerate more, that remind them that it was us that made the difference between coke and crack and cocaine, that we got the First Step Act, and we got brothers and sisters with marijuana charges out of jail. It was because we feel their pain. And lastly, we are them. Vote and we win.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Beatty. I think that is a really good point to remind us and other people who are perhaps reluctant to vote or wondering why they should, of what we've already won. I've never heard it phrased that way before. Thank you so much. I believe it's crucial to know who in your specific state is on the ballot and what some of the big issues are. So we are joined by Janae Nelson, president of the Legal Defense Fund. Janae, thank you for joining us. And can you give us a brief overview of the important issues that we should be paying particular attention to in our own states?
Yes, absolutely. One, thank you so much for organizing all of us in this town hall. I'm so glad to be here with my brothers and sisters on this call. And we should know what is at stake in this election and what is on the ballot. All elections are important, but this election in particular, we have the opportunity to flex our power in a way that will determine the future of this country. It will determine whether we and our families and our communities have a future in this country, a future where we can thrive, or a future where we'll be taken backwards, because that's really the fight right now. And our right to very basic freedoms that you mentioned in your intro, like choosing when or whether to have children, is on the ballot. We know that the Supreme Court took away that right and left it to the states to decide. And if they have their will, they will take that right to choose away. We should be able to determine when and whether we have families. We know that that right to choose has enabled Black women to get an education, to gain employment, to change their economic circumstances, and to build their families as they wish. And we don't want to trade that right. So we need to vote to protect it. Our vote will also protect our ability to cast a ballot going forward. We have tried to get voting rights protections passed, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, the For the People Act by Vice President Kamala Harris, went nowhere because we had obstructionists in Congress. We can vote in the people who will protect our right to vote. And our right to vote is so essential because it preserves every other right that we have.
Right.
And we're voting on economic issues, like Congressman Beatty said. I mean, whether we can purchase an affordable home or rent an affordable apartment in the neighborhood of our choosing, all of that is on the ballot. And Oprah, you talked about truth and what our children can read. Our children's ability to get a high quality education where the true history of our nation is being taught and the lived experiences of all communities is honored and respected is on the ballot.
The ballot.
Truth is on the ballot. So there are many critical offices like judges and governors who will decide public health issues and school board members who will decide curricula and all of the different sheriffs and very local election offices that matter to your day-to-day life. And of course, in all of our states, we will be electing people who will represent us in Congress. So we have so much at stake. Our multi-ethnic, multiracial democracy is really up to us, and it's in our hands as we fill out our ballot, as we pull that lever at the poll. And we have some resources that I will drop in the chat, some links that I hope everyone here will click on and go to and make sure that they are prepared to vote, because we must own our vote. And as you said, we must go to the polls. That's where the power is.
Thank you, Janae. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. With the overturning of Roe versus Wade, reproductive freedom is certainly top of mind for so many women. We're joined by one of the leading voices in the space, president of Emily's List, LaFonza Butler. Hi, LaFonza. Can you tell us how this decision has impacted women across the country?
Hi, Oprah, and thank you so much. I join my brothers and sisters here in just appreciating you and your leadership at OWN. For convening spaces like this for us to have these kinds of really frank conversations. Like so many women across the country, on June 24th, when the Supreme Court decision became final and public, I realized that I had taken my daughter, who's 8 years old, to summer camp at 7:30 to catch the bus to go off to summer camp. And I realized at about 10:15, when that decision was made public, that my daughter was going to come home less free. She was going to come home as an 8-year-old, less free than her mom and her grandmother. And that is what the Dobbs decision has put at the forefront of this intergenerational conversation about the autonomy of women and their right to make decisions about their own bodies. Are we full citizens in this country, or are we not? Are we going to create a future where our children will be able to own their own bodies as well as their vote, or will they not? And since the Dobbs decision, more than about 18 states have moved forward with advancing some sort of ban, restricting the right of millions of women to make decisions about their own bodies, to make decisions about their own health care, and to make decisions about their own futures, fundamentally. And today, according to our sisters and brothers at Planned Parenthood, women are driving more than 400 miles one way to access critical reproductive health care that they need. They are taking half of the abortion services and medications that they need, getting back in the car and driving another 400 miles, self-managing that procedure. We are putting this decision of this court has put the lives at stake of millions of women in this country, and our fundamental freedom to make decisions about our own body is at stake and indeed on the ballot this November. And at Emily's List, where we work to elect Democratic pro-choice women up and down the ballot, we are making sure that voters across this country know that a vote in a state like Michigan or California or North Carolina really does mean and will make the difference between whether or not our daughters and our sons will have the ability to make the decision about when, how to start and create their own families and determine their own future. And so I think that there is on the ballot and what is at stake. I joined Congresswoman Beatty in her description. Our fundamental freedoms are at stake. And that is what the Dobbs decision put in front of us. And we can recognize what Justice Thomas also wrote in his concurrence, that the Dobbs decision also put at stake our right to contraception, our right to IVF treatments, our right to interracial marriages, our right to live and love who and how we choose in the LGBTQ community. It is very clear that it is not just the decision of Dobbs and reproductive freedom that is at stake in this moment, but is everything that we hold dear as a democracy. And at Emily's List, we are doing the work to fight for those who stand with the will of the majority of the American people to protect those freedoms and to advance those rights, to make sure that not only my daughter, but that America's daughters and our sons have the fundamental freedoms that generations before them fought so hard for them to have.
Thank you, LaFonza. Thank you so much. Let's talk about voter suppression now, y'all. You know, I think that people hear that phrase on the news, and it's one of those phrases that you don't pay attention to, but I think that we have to be vigilant on this issue because, as I was saying earlier, that the counting the marbles in the jar that happened 60, 70 years ago, now the tactics are very much different. Damon Hewitt is with us, and you're the president of the Lawyers Committee fighting for voters' right. Tell us in plain terms, no lawyer speak, please. What is voter suppression? What does it look like in 2022? And what can everybody be watching to do if they face obstacles to voting?
Thanks so much, Oprah, for having this important conversation for our community. So look, voter suppression are policies, laws, practices by governments or by individuals that are designed to make it intentionally harder to vote, not easier to vote. And sometimes to make it so that you can't vote at all, or that even when you do vote, that your vote doesn't get counted or remain counted. And so in the days of Jim Crow, you think about literacy tests and poll taxes. Today, it looks like laws that limit polling hours, that ban drop boxes, so you have one in your entire county, that have new ID requirements that are difficult to figure out, lack of resources that ensure that there are very long lines in Black communities or make it illegal to pass out food or water when you're standing in that long line. But also the modern day stuff, Oprah, is more like intimidation at the polls, physical intimidation, threats by partisans or even nonpartisans, but also misinformation, disinformation, and just wrong information, either online, through robocalls, or even through mailers that get sent to your home. It's also about that violent insurrection on January 6th. So these are the things that we're seeing an uptick in from the calls that we get to the National Election Protection Hotline. That is the number, 866-OUR-VOTE. At the Lawyers Committee, we're so proud and humbled and honored to be able to be the national convener of the Election Protection Coalition. Almost 300 organizations nationwide, local, state, national organizations who came together a number of years ago to protect our vote so that voters can call this hotline 7 days a week. Now, we have mobilized over 10,000 attorney volunteers. And that means we can answer voters' calls 7 days a week, all throughout the day when people encounter problems, when you feel threatened or intimidated, if somebody challenges your qualifications, or if you just have a simple question. It may seem simple to you, but it could be a very big deal. Call that hotline, 866-OUR-VOTE. Don't let your vote be taken for granted. Own your vote, because it's our vote too.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So if you get challenged and you call that number, there's somebody on the line there to tell you what?
That's exactly right. So somebody on line number one to give you accurate, nonpartisan, unbiased information, because we know the laws and rules keep changing. You can get accurate information, but also what authorities you can contact to make sure that you're able to vote. Sometimes it may end up being a provisional ballot that people don't know a lot about. Sometimes it may be that you have to go to a different polling place or precinct. Sometimes it may be the rare case that you actually have to call local law enforcement, or we can actually deploy lawyers or other volunteers who are not lawyers directly to that polling site to try to interact and help you on the spot.
Thank you so much, Damon. And no lawyer speak. That was plain. You put it to us plain. We got it. We got it. We heard you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Our intention at the Own Your Vote campaign is to energize and harness the power of Black women in particular. And I wanted to say, hey to you, Latasha Brown. Tell us. Oh, so great. Tell us briefly how Black women have influenced prior elections and how we can be a force for good in these midterms.
Well, the first thing I did right was the day I started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on. You know, I always like to start when I'm having these talks. I want to remind people that, yes, we can talk about the strategy of the movement, but Black women have always brought the spirit of the movement. We have to really recognize and believe that aside from what it seems like barriers, that we literally have the power to change and transform. It's not just a transaction for us. It really is about transformation. And I think Black women have done a couple of things. One, we have always created space. We've granted grace to ourselves and our communities, why I think we're great organizers. And we set the pace. And we are seeing that not only in the past. I'm a native of Selma, Alabama. And when I think about, we know the men that were in the movement, but oftentimes we don't know about the work of Amelia Boynton or Joanne Robinson, who actually was organizing the Montgomery bus boycott. And so women have always, Black women in particular, have always been on the front lines of change. Part of it, I even think of Black women really as the shapers, in many ways as the founders of democracy in this nation. And so there are a couple of ways that we've been operating, but also when we're talking about now, you know, we have literally shaped and opened up this space in this landscape. While yes, there's a lot to be worried about, there's a lot for us to celebrate. We've got Black women who are leading the top of the ticket, right? In states that we couldn't even vote. When we're looking at Georgia, and we're looking at North Carolina, and Florida, we're talking about senators and governors and congresspeople. And we also, Black women, not only in terms of being as candidates, where we're seeing candidates, we're also seeing Black women as organizers on the ground and Black women as voters. When we look at the election that is going to happen, the campaign in Pennsylvania, which is a key state, we've got a critical election happening in Pennsylvania, and Black women actually were the drivers in 2020. And I think that they will be the drivers again when it comes up this election in this cycle. So we have to really recognize all of those things that what Black women are doing. And we're looking at, I think it's important for us to recognize in this moment, when you're in a moment of great darkness, that's when the light is needed. Black women have always stood at this intersection of sexism and racism and had to navigate through that. So in this moment, I think that Black women are organizing, that it's not just as voters. And yes, we are needed as voters. We have the highest turnout than any constituency group in this country. But two, we are organizers. We are actually reshaping the entire political landscape, right? And on the front lines of democracy. And literally, we are leading. We're leading on all segments of this. And I think that part of Black women's role, what we can do right now is like, this is not the moment that we literally give up. This isn't the moment that we don't have faith. We've got to believe, and we have always believed when our community couldn't see a way out. My grandmother used to say, right, that baby, there's always a way out. And so I think it's really important for us to recognize the critical role that Black women have always played in staying in that space and creating that space. But the role that we actually have to play in terms of shaping forward, we cannot back down.
Keep your eyes on the prize.
And hold
on. And hold on. And Latasha, you mentioned Pennsylvania. I have to say, at the beginning of this midterm campaign, I said it was up to the citizens of Pennsylvania, and of course it still is. But I will tell you all this, if I lived in Pennsylvania, I would have already cast my vote for John Fetterman for many reasons. And that is not the only race that matters. If I was in North Carolina, as you mentioned, Sister Beasley there. And if I was in Florida, I'd be supporting Val Demings. If I was in Wisconsin, it would be Mandela Barnes. In Nevada, it would be Catherine Cortez Masto. And in Texas, Beto O'Rourke. And Raphael Warnock and the incredible Stacey Abrams, of course, in Georgia. So there are clear choices out there and some dynamic candidates who are working to represent the values. This is what we're talking about. The values that we hold dear, the values of inclusion, the values of compassion and community that so many of us share. So use your discernment, which seems to be missing in a lot of our country today. Use your discernment and choose wisely for the democracy of our country. So panelists, thank you all for your time tonight. Joshua, I believe we have some more special guests to chat with. So over to you.
We sure do, Oprah. Now, this is a story I believe that you personally noticed. This young woman from Georgia, Jennifer Jones, she's a PhD student. She faced a challenging experience at the polls when she went to vote during the recent primaries. And so we wanted to bring her on with you. Please welcome Jennifer Jones.
Oh my goodness, this is so great. Jennifer, hi.
Hi, thank you for having
I'm
me.
so glad you were able to join us tonight. I read this story in The Guardian about how you showed up to vote and you were informed by a poll worker that your validation to vote was being challenged. And with all of the new voter suppression laws across the country and all different in every state, as we just talked about, I can understand why there would be confusion, but can you tell us exactly what happened? You are the example. How can, and you knew what to do. You knew how to stand up for yourself and you knew who to call. So tell us what happened.
Yes, so when I went into the library that I normally vote in for each election, I handed the poll worker my Georgia issued driver's license. And the poll worker asked me if I had any previous issues with casting my ballot before or any issues with voting. And I told her, no, I've been voting in Fulton County since 2017. And she contacted two external sources. One of the sources said, pretty much based off the conversation, I could gauge that she was just telling the poll worker that I had a challenge on my information and that pretty much there was nothing that she could do. So on the second person that the poll worker contacted, they said that although I have this challenge on my record, and although that my ID was fine and there was nothing really preventing me from voting other than a challenge, that the protocol is for me to fill out a provisional ballot. And that was an option that I wasn't willing to take because I'd rather cast my vote on the machine. And I'm not saying since it was the second day of voting, I wasn't sure where I was going to go with this or what was going to happen afterwards, but I just left the library without voting.
And then what happened?
Yes. So after that, I was extremely disappointed. I knew that there was a range or this gradient to voter suppression, but I try not to think that certain things don't happen to me or it's never going to happen. And since I'm on the other end of the gradient at one of the extreme versions of voter suppression, I thought about the documentaries that my mother and I would watch about different civil rights activists such as Fannie Lou Hamer and her contributions to the civil rights movement. I thought about stories that I've been told about my grandparents being in their 40s before they were legally able to vote. My grandmother giving my mother and her siblings instructions on what to do just in case she didn't return home after she was marching with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And my mother being born, the youngest of three, being born several years before the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So with that being said, or just thinking about that and thinking about my ancestors and those who came before me, I knew I had a responsibility. And instead of just looking down or feeling defeated, I straightened my back up really quick and put my eyes forward to look for a solution, because of course I have a responsibility. And I contacted Fair Fight Action, and Ms. Diane Savage, she emailed me with information for election protection. My mother also had a flyer for election protection because they went around our neighborhood to pass out pamphlets. And I contacted the number, and the volunteers were very transparent with election protection, and they got me in contact with Ms. Helen Butler. I told Ms. Helen Butler everything that happened. And within 2 business days, the challenge was removed and I was able to vote.
Wow. Well, we thank you for staying the course and for remembering where you come from and all the people who paid for the crown that you now get to wear and sharing your experience here with us tonight. That is why it is so important that everyone checks the voting laws in your own state so that you can be prepared. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm so glad that we found you. So Joshua, what's up next? Wasn't that a great story?
Amazing story, Oprah, and thank you for staying the course. Listen, now we're going to hear from Desmond Meade. Desmond is a wonderful brother. He's the president and executive director of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. Desmond was actually formerly incarcerated himself, and he also recently won a MacArthur Genius Award. Think about that balance I just said. Formerly incarcerated, recently won MacArthur Genius Award. So look at what God can do. He's done some tremendous work securing the rights of thousands of returning citizens in Florida through his work on Amendment 4 in the state of Florida. But there's still challenges when it comes to returning citizens voting. Before we hear from Desmond, let's watch this clip from Sister Tiffany Cross on the Cross Connection.
I'm sure by now you've seen these despicable videos of people being arrested for voting in Florida. This is the doing of Florida man Governor Ron DeSantis, having announced in August the arrest of returning citizens alleged to have voted fraudulently in the 2020 election. Now, what DeSantis failed to mention was that some had been issued voter registration cards by the state, implying they were eligible to vote, which makes the newly released body cam footage first obtained by the Tampa Bay Times all the more infuriating. Take a listen.
So if you can put your hands around your back, please. Oh my God. Do not move.
Ultimately, ma'am, you have a warrant. Okay. The warrant. Hold on, listen. I know you caught off guard. I understand. Right? So you have a warrant. It's for voter fraud. Okay.
I voted fraud. I voted, but I ain't commit no fraud.
Well, so that's the thing. I don't know exactly what happened with it, but you do have a warrant. That's what it's for. Apparently, I guess you have a warrant. For what? I'm not sure.
For voter stuff, man.
For voters.
It's what it is. I think the agents with FDLE talked to you last week about some voter fraud, voter stuff, when you weren't supposed to be voting, maybe.
Voter fraud.
Let's walk over to my car, okay?
Why y'all doing this now and this happened years ago?
I don't know. I have no idea, man.
What is wrong with this state, man? What are you talking about? Voter fraud. Y'all saying anybody with family can vote, man. What you mean I couldn't vote?
Y'all said anybody with the felony could vote. What you mean I can't vote? Truly disturbing. Oprah, please meet Desmond Meade, who can help us understand some of these issues.
Desmond, so happy to have you join us tonight. And thank you for joining us and for all that you're doing now to protect voting rights for so many. Can you tell us a little bit about this ongoing fight in Florida? How are advocates fighting back against recent voter arrests there?
Well, Oprah, first of all, thank you for that question. You know, I'm looking at that video and I can't help but to get a little emotional and just really think about, you know, the spirit of Barbara, who, you know, in 2020, you know, before we ran into her, the doctor gave her 6 months to live. And when we finally encountered her and we was registering the vote, she started crying as she was filling out a voter registration form, saying that for 24 years, she'd been dying to want to be able to vote, but she never thought she would have an opportunity, but for Amendment 4. And there she was. And when she finished, Oprah, she looked up and asked our organizer to pray that God would allow her to live long enough to be able to cast a vote. Now, here's a woman that's given 6 months to live, and her dying wish was not to go to Disney World or visit an exotic location, but her dying wish was to be able to get to feel what it felt like to be a part of something bigger than her, to be a part of this democracy. And then I think about the young man, one of the young people who the FDLE had interviewed, and he talked about how he was always in the dark place and he never felt a part of society. But when someone told him, and that someone was a supervisor of election, told him that he was able to vote, how he felt and the hope he had in wanting to be a part of our democracy. Florida is doing it. So those images and those stories and the stories of our ancestors that you talked about, who faced death just to register to vote and then had to face it again to go to vote, all of those spirits, right, just build up in me and say that, you know what, we have to respond to suppression with aggression, right? And what I mean is,
we'll bring Brother Desmond back in just a minute. Brother Desmond, you may need to unmute yourself because you were rolling, brother. We need to hear that. Where you left off was respond to suppression with aggression. Can you pick up from there?
We must respond to it. And that means that if they arrest 10 people, that means we go out like my organization did, and we ensure that 200 people are now eligible to register to vote. We started the program 4 for 4, that if you have any doubts about whether or not you're eligible to vote, then you know what? Don't vote, but you get 4 people, 4 loved ones or family members and friends who are registered voters, and have them vote in your stead. And even if you can't vote, don't vote by yourself. Bring 4 people with you. And so that's how we are responding. We created a bail fund and a legal defense fund for these individuals, because some of these folks that are getting arrested are too poor to afford bail, and they're losing their jobs, and it's having a detrimental impact not only on the individual but the family. And so we're pushing forward, and we believe that, you know, at the end of the day, Oprah, when we passed Amendment 4 in 2018, we did it with love, right? We brought people together from all walks of life, all political persuasions. Matter of fact, over 1 million more people voted for our amendment than for our current governor. Over 1 million people more, right? And over 1 million people were even conservatives that voted for our amendment. And we showed the world that we didn't have to pass something through hate or fear, but we passed it through love, forgiveness, and redemption. And love can win the day. And so all of our responses to these attacks, all of our responses to these attempts to intimidate voters, right? And we know that it didn't just start today, like you said. From the beginning of this country, there've always been a select group of politicians who wanted to pick and choose who get to vote for them, right? It wasn't too long ago, women couldn't even vote. And so we're going to continue to fight.
Wow, thank you so much. I love that philosophy of you take 10, we're going to bring on 200. That is powerful. That is determined. Thank you, Desmond, so much. Thank you for joining us. And we are ready to bring on our next surprise. Who's that, Joshua?
Yes, indeed. Listen, for all the hip hop fans out there, I'm excited that we're about to be joined by hip hop artist Yellow Pain. Back in 2020, you probably saw him. Yellow had a viral video focused on mobilizing young voters, made quite a splash then, and he's following it up now with a new video project encouraging young people to vote. Let's take a quick sneak peek at his upcoming film.
Once Martin Luther King died, the dream died. The dream died.
11% of us vote, 89% of them vote. Look at their community and look at ours. And you tell me then that voting don't matter.
It's been 2 years since I made that song about voting. You need to focus on who's running for Congress.
I don't care what president is out here, man. It ain't gonna stop me, man.
What do you think the president's job is?
His job is to represent the people.
I don't know the exact definition of president.
The president's job, I guess, is basically to make sure that the country is running smoothly.
They told you they fixed it. They give us the freedom and throw us in prison. We die in the street and we marching, but we never show up or voted against it. I can't even blame you. I try to go study, but I really don't even get it. But too many people done fought for my freedom for me to not go make a difference.
What do you want?
Protesting does not change laws.
I don't want nobody taking my voice away from me.
Tearing up communities does not change laws.
I want the police to show some respect.
What changes laws is the system that laws are created. That's voting. Why are we not voting?
I know too much to be sitting inside. No, they rather keep me ignorant mind. No, they rather keep it hidden, but we gotta get up and find it. Get it simplified.
There's no way somebody's going to watch this whole documentary and then say my vote don't matter ever again.
Ever again. Oprah, please welcome Yellow.
Yellow, that's so powerful. So glad to have you with us again. Earlier, Congresswoman Beatty was saying that one of the things to say to young people, perhaps, Yellow, is showing young people what has been gained or what has been accomplished by the vote already. I'm curious as to what is your approach?
Well, first off, I want to say, one thing that people really try to say is that, like, young people don't care, like we're not going to show up. But the thing is, in 2020, that was the biggest protest in the history of America. So there's not a heart problem. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people come at my people like it's a heart problem, and it's not. It's an education problem. You know what I mean? Because that was the biggest voter turnout in 120 years. So what we have to do is educate people, not just keep pressing them. You need to go vote. You need to show up. You need to educate people.
And so how do you do that? What do you say to what are you actually saying to the young people? What are you saying?
Well, the documentary and just what I'm doing is called Simplify, and it's bridging the gap. And what I'm doing is I'm simplifying American government all the way down to simple terms that everyday people can understand. You know what I mean? Because I'm trying to bridge the gap between the people who understand and who know what the system is about and the people who don't care and don't understand the system.
Oh, that's fantastic. Where can we see this documentary?
Well, right now I'm doing private screenings. So we just taking it around and doing private screenings, but we're being patient because we want to make sure that it's on the best platform to make the most impact.
And Oprah, we'll get the link around to everybody that registered once it's available too.
Absolutely.
Yellow, thank you for what you're doing. I mean, I would imagine that you have re-inspired yourself this midterm.
Yeah, I definitely did, because, you know, one of the things is that, you know, as I've been going, you know, I've been learning more. And the more I learn, the more I realize how much I need to learn. And the more that I learn how much I need to learn, the more I realize how much people who haven't even started the process need to learn. And it breaks my heart. The other day I went to a town hall meeting out here in Georgia, and I looked around and I had to be probably the youngest person in there. Everybody in there was probably over 50. You know, and you know, that's sad. You know, like if everybody in there is over 50, you know, and I saw a lady, she was talking about what is car insurance, and she was saying like her passion is to lower car insurance with her position. And I know 2 people personally who struggle with high car insurance, and they're not in the room. Nobody's in the room, so they'll never know that there's somebody that can lower that for them, and it's a problem. So we got to make sure that we educate the young people.
Well, you're out there doing that. Thank you so much, because I just think that once young people, older people recognize the price that has been paid for us, and as I was saying earlier, the crowns that we now wear because other people suffered in order for us to be able to wear them, that it's hard for you not to respond, because you realize that that's part of your responsibility to carry that forward. And you seem to have come to that and are now helping other people do it. Thank you so much for activating so many young people and using your talents in this really powerful way as a force for good. It's really inspiring to see your generation understand the seriousness of this moment in language broken down by you, and to understand what's at stake. We thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I just want to say, you know, for anybody that knows somebody that's on the fence and feel like maybe I shouldn't vote, or, you know, I don't know too much about it, we have to understand that whether or not we vote, whether or not we ever show up, there are people who are dedicated to showing up, not just every 4 years, but every 6 months. All of the small elections, they're showing up and they're making decisions about our lives. And the thing is, we all have a deadline. You know, we are all going to be out of here. And after we're out of here, you know, people 65 and up make up the majority of the voters. So you can imagine what democracy will look like in 50 years. So we have to show up not only for ourselves, but for our community, not only for our community, but for our children, and for our children's children, and our children's children's children.
Wow. Powerful young man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Preach, Yellow. We appreciate you, brother. And Oprah, now we have another great friend with us, the president of the NAACP New York State Conference, a lifelong activist who has an important message to share. Let's watch a quick clip from her that went viral not too long ago.
I am 90 years of age. And I am not tired yet. And I said in my own church on Sunday, this election is life or death. That's right. For our community. Don't go around here talking no sociology and no biology and all that highfalutin stuff. Tell folks they ain't gonna have no Social Security.
Come on, Mama Duke.
I'm
Come
talking
on,
about
Mama
y'all
Duke.
young folks. Y'all ain't gonna have none. I got mine. That's the reason I got on my St. John, because my check.
The great Hazel Dukes.
Oh
Okay,
my.
please welcome Mama Dukes.
Oh my gosh, Mama Dukes. Ms. Hazel, you joined us in 2020 and were featured in our Voting Rights Leaders Spotlight for your lifelong dedication to social justice. And we're just so delighted to have you back with us this evening. I see you beaming. Isn't she delightful, Joteka? I mean, we love her, love her, love her, love her.
Oh my God, we love Mama Duke. She keeps us fired up and she keeps us motivated. She tells us all the time, she's 90 years old and she ain't tired yet.
She ain't tired yet. So how you really feel, Mama Dukes?
Well, I feel great. I've been an activist and voting over 50 years now, Oprah. And I've seen some progress, but now is a frightening time. The extremists that we see doing terrible things, trying to roll back all our progress. But you know what? We have our ballot and we can use it as our weapon. And we need to support compassionate and men and women who are inclusive to bring us together.
Yeah.
So what I've been doing and what I will do all the rest of my days is call for our communities, our civic organizations. I see my national president of Delta on, I see my national president of the Lynx is on, and I see Dr. Dalen, I see Melody Campbell on, and Latasha Brown. We gotta continue to tell our community we must take our souls to the polls.
Amen to that.
Because too many of our ancestors died for us. I want every pastor on Sunday that is listening to us, everyone who is listening to us tonight, over 6,000 people, if all of us take one person, everyone in the house that is 18 years of old, take the souls to the polls. They are not coming back. Martin is not coming back. Fannie Lou Hamer's not coming back. They left us here. And so the Beatitudes, let's not just recite it. Let's be about it. This is for our life depend on this. Trying to take back, as President Obama said Saturday in Wisconsin, our grandparents. Now they're going to take our Social Security, our Medicaid away from us. How dare them? We have the power. Let's use that ballot. Put down the bullets, pick up the ballots, take our souls to the polls, and let's win this and get men and women who will represent all of us. Make democracy work.
Wow. Thank you for joining us, Mama Dukes. Loved hearing from you and all of our special guests. Now, one of my favorite segments coming up next, time for roll call.
Absolutely, Oprah. You know what? For the last 2 years, literally, wherever I go, people say roll call.
Roll call.
Exactly. So we're getting ready to get into the roll call. And tonight, I'm super excited. Okay, so the chat box was already on fire. It's going to be even more on fire. I'm ready to see all of the colors. I want to see what organization you're a part of. I want you to shout out your leader, because we're going to hear from organizational leaders that are focused on Black women and their communities that are owning their votes. So let's get ready. We're going to get started with our first commitment tonight, and we will hear from Beverly Ann Fields, Esquire, who is the chair and the International Connection and Social Action Committee leader of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Thank you. The 325,000 women of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, under the leadership of our international president and CEO, Jeanette Anthony Reed, are soaring to the polls. Why? We know the voting barriers, those not registered or purged from the rolls, lack of language access, unknown and inaccessible polling places, and voter suppression efforts, which we've heard about tonight. We know these issues disproportionately impact communities of color, which we serve. So our campaign is reaching thousands with educational and candidate forums, registration drives, and a voter toolkit with registration links, ballot initiatives, early and absentee voting information, and an election issues emergency number you've heard tonight, 1-866-OUR-VOTE. And on November 8th, we will mobilize our voting squads, parties to the polls, and Take Two with You initiative. We want and we need you to mobilize with us with similar activities, because we know this election is critical. We've heard about it tonight. Own your vote. Own your vote. And soar to the polls on November 8th with Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, because this is a serious matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you indeed. I love that. I love that Take Two with You initiative. And you know, there are lots and lots of pink and green hearts in the chat. Thank you so much. Next, we'll hear from my good sis and friend, Sister Melanie Campbell, who is the president and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and the co-convener of the Black Women's Roundtable.
Thank you, Joteka. Thank you, Oprah and Values Partnership, Joshua Dubois, my brother from another mother. It is an honor always to be in the space with all of these powerful Black women. I am so delighted to represent our state affiliates who are on here, our Black Women's Roundtable conveners and partners, our Black You Vote organizers who are on the ground right now, getting out the vote, getting out the Black vote. We are in the, I'm from this great state of Florida. We are down here closing out our 30-day Unity 22 National Power of the Ballot, Get Out the Vote, comedy tour and organizing weekends. We've been in 5 states for the last 30 years. I've been living in hotels and airports and a whole lot of rental cars. And so we've been in Florida and Georgia and Michigan, Ohio and Pennsylvania. We made history in 2020 in the presidential election, and it's time that we do it again. We only have 5 days, y'all, 5 days for one of the most critical elections in our lifetime. This election will be pivotal in determining whether or not our democracy exists. You've heard me say it before. Black women, we are the secret sauce. Not only do we show up, but we bring our families, our friends, and the entire community. Ladies, the power, and brothers, the power of our ballot is in our hands. The power of the ballot is about reproductive rights, voting rights, LGBTQ rights, and our freedoms. The power of the ballot is about criminal justice, police reform, and gun safety. The power of the ballot is about racial, gender, and economic justice. The power of our ballot is about owning your power and owning your vote. So ladies, brothers, sisters, everybody, let's do this. Let's do what we need to do. Vote like our lives depended on it. Our children's lives do depend on us to do what we need to do. Mama Dukes already did it. Thank you so much. Peace and power. Let's own our power. Let's get out the vote like we mean it.
That's right, Sister Mel. Everybody. It is something powerful about that ballot. Thank you, Sister Mel. You are true the embodiment of commitment. And thank you for bringing joy on this campaign trail with that comedy tour, in addition to action. Thank you so much. Well, I am so excited to bring up my president. We'll now hear from Sister Elsie Cook Holmes, who is the national president and chair of the National Board of Directors of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Sorors, I want to see all of those red and white hearts in the chat box. SOAR President Elsie Cook Holmes.
Yes, yes. Good evening, Oprah. Good evening, Joteka. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a sorority that's been on the forefront of voting rights since 1913. And on behalf of our over 350,000 initiated members, shout out to all of my sisters out there in the red and white. I encourage you to get out the vote for the 2022 midterm elections because your vote is your voice. It's time to make it heard. Efforts to make it harder for marginalized people of color to participate in the political process, as we know, are increasing across this country. So Deltas have engaged in voter registration, education, and are currently engaged in voter mobilization and certainly voter protection. We must do what we can to ensure we vote, and those in the communities we serve are doing the same. Too much is at stake not to vote. Our voice is our vote. Our vote is our voice. Make sure you own your vote.
That is so important. Thank you so much. It is so important that we own our votes. Next, we're going to hear from our good sister and friend, and she's going to tell us about the political home for Black women. We'll hear from Glenda C. Carr, who is the president and CEO of Higher Heights.
Thank you so much, Joteka, Joshua, and to you, Oprah, for convening Black women from across the country. As Joteka said, Higher Heights is the political home for Black women, a national organization helping Black women to vote, run, win, and lead. The late Shirley Chisholm once said, "At present, our country needs women's idealism and determination, perhaps more in politics than anywhere else." Ladies, I think you would agree that this statement rings true today. From the voting booth to elected office, Black women are the architects and the defenders of our democracy. 50 years after Shirley Chisholm's bold run for president in 1972, this year we are witnessing the Chisholm effect. We have a record number of Black women serving in elected office and a record number of Black women running for office, but there's still work to be done. BlackWomenVote.com is Higher Heights campaign. We've had a recent poll by Change Research that shows that Black women are motivated more than ever to vote in this midterm election. In fact, 80% of Black women feel that our power will be able to change the very issues that matter to our community the most this November. Black women will continue to show up at the polls in record-breaking numbers to keep this country moving forward. And we need every single American to also do that job. So ladies, we still have 5 more days to do that, to own our vote. And Higher Heights, through our BlackWomenVote.com campaign, are organizing our partners. We are hosting events. We have radio ads, digital ads. And what we're gonna do is what we've always done, ladies. We are going to prepare to vote, and we're gonna organize our house, our block, our church, our sorority, and our union to help to move this country to higher heights.
Thank you so much, Glenda. Thank you so much. I always love it when we hear you say our house, our block, our community, every single body, because we know that Black women, we move our communities, and statistically, we generally carry 5 people to the polls with us every time we vote. Thank you so much, Glenda, for all that you are doing and Higher Heights is doing to make sure that we own our votes. Next, we're going to hear from Ethel Isaacs Williams, JD, who is the national president of the Links Incorporated. And I know I'm going to see a lot of green and white hearts in the chat. Welcome, Ethel.
Thank you. Good evening, my sisters. Good evening, and thank you, Oprah. Have to say thank you, Oprah. Thank you, Joteka and Joshua. What an evening it's been already. I am Ethel Isaacs Williams, the national president of the Links Incorporated, founded in 1946. And it is an honor to be a part of this evening and the amazing panel of sisters in the struggle and brothers in the struggle. Who wouldn't want to hang out just a little while longer with the Honorable Joyce Beatty and Mama Dukes? But I am so pleased to tell you that tonight, 17,000 plus members of the Links Incorporated are ready for this election. We are election ready for a record-breaking turnout. And let me just say, it must be a record-breaking turnout if we're going to see a change. Because come Tuesday, a good turnout just may not be good enough. You know, there's an old adage that says we aren't governed by the majority, but rather by the majority of who shows up and votes. So we got to show up. We can't sit this one out. And the links are committed. We've registered. Some have already voted. We started a countdown campaign a week ago. And here's how we're going to continue to get it done. We're creating our own voting squad. Every member has been asked to get your voting squad together. And it's easy, not just links, but everyone on this call and listening in, text 3 friends, have them text 3 friends to vote. We're going to use our resources, our networks, and that Black girl magic, because that's what is going to bring it home. We're not sitting out. We're not sitting at home. We will turn out a record-breaking number because we're not ruled by the majority, but by the majority who shows up to vote. Let our voices be heard through our vote, because that's our power, Black women. That's our power. Own your vote.
Power. Woo, that's power. That is absolute power. We're going to own our votes. Chilling. Thank you so much, Sister Ethel, for those powerful words and all of the amazing work that the Links Incorporating are doing across the country. Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from a living legend.
Oh, really?
Dr. Thelma T. Daly, who is the chair and the 8th national president of the National Council of Negro Women. Dr. Daly.
Thank you so very much, Joteka. And Oprah, thank you so very much for your vision and all that you do for so many of us. Let me just say, I'm honored to be a part of this tonight. But I want to remind all of us that the National Council of Negro Women was founded by Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, who was a suffragist, who fought for the 19th Amendment that gave women the right to vote. And so NCNW has been fighting for the right to vote ever since she established the National Council of Negro Women in 1935. But let me just tell you, NCNW is more or less a grassroots organization. You know, you don't have to have all of the degrees and all of that to belong to the National Council of Negro Women. So our women are out there in the hamlets, in the rural areas, in the small towns, as well as the big cities and the states. And let me tell you what they're doing, okay? They have been registering high school students. They had been in the high schools. And now they are transporting people. They're hiring school buses to take people to the polls. In addition to that, they are fixing bologna sandwiches and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, anything to feed the people as they go. They know now in some places they can't serve food in the polling places, but you sure can feed them as they go, because it's very important that we get the people to the polls. It's not so much that we all register them, but they must get there. And so use the school buses in your communities, because schools will be out. But the key thing in all of this is to beat the bushes. I want to keep that out there. Beat the bushes. Because a theme for the National Council of Negro Women has always been leave no one behind. Leave no one behind. And if there's ever a time that that theme should resonate, that theme should resonate this year. Leave no one behind in casting the vote. That's all I want to say. Beat the bushes. Ladies, keep beating the bushes. Leave no one behind, because this is one of the most important elections in our lives. If we don't do it now, we may not be voting in the future. So beat the bushes, and leave no one behind. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Dr. Daly, the message is clear. Beat the bushes and leave no one behind. Leave no one behind. Thank you so much for that inspiration, Dr. Daly. Thank you. Well, next we'll hear from Marika Harris, who is the International Vice President of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. And congratulations on your centennial year, Marika.
Thank you, Joteka, and thank you, Ms. Winfrey, for the opportunity to be here this evening. Sigma Gamma Rho is committed to upholding the legacy and the fight of 7 young educators who foundationally set our organization apart in 1922. With an expanded reach of 5 million, we are poised, positioned, and purposed to make history this election season by mitigating voter suppression, registering thousands of voters, educating the youth vote, turning battlegrounds into settled soil, and most importantly, restoring consciousness not only nationally, but in our local communities. We are the sisterhood of greater service, greater progress. I am Marika Harris, International Vice President of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, a global and united coalition of women. We are the new suffragists. We vote because we want to honor the legacy of those who came before us. We vote to be the voice for the voiceless in the US today, and we vote to secure the future for the next generation. We cannot be greater women building a greater world without the most important action that we can take, and that is the vote. So we want to encourage everyone to get out, make a plan, show up and show out, because this election is important to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marika, and such poignant words. Rounding us out tonight is Dr. Stacey Grant, the International President and CEO of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Dr. Grant.
Good evening, and thank you, Oprah, Jatika, and Joshua, for this opportunity to join this amazing conversation. 1920 was a pivotal year in America. Prohibition started, the Harlem Renaissance, the first movement of Black artists and writers were born, and women, some women, not all women, obtained the right to vote. It was also the year 5 women, known as the 5 Pearls, created Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated on the campus of Howard University to encourage the highest standards of scholarship, promote service, foster sisterhood, and exemplify the ideal of finer womanhood. I'm Dr. Stacey N.C. Grant, International President and CEO of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. With over 130,000 members and 900 plus chapters around the globe, we are fired up this midterm election season because we're at a point in our history where we have to be vocal about what affects us. We never thought we would be sitting here in this situation now, discussing Roe v. Wade, voters' rights, immigration, discussing all the things that our foremothers and our forefathers fought and died for so that we could have the right to vote and effectuate change. It is important for us as an organization to publicly take a stand on issues that affect women and a society and the whole entirety to stand for what's right. We will continue to educate our constituents about who they're voting for, advocate for protection of our voting process, like partnering with Lyft to get people to the polls, and effectuate change by owning our vote. Zetas get engaged. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Grant. Now, Oprah, you know, when we were preparing for the roll call, you know what we said? We said a roll call is just not a roll call without one special individual. And it is my honor to bring us some inspiration tonight, the incomparable Dr. Janetta Besh Cole.
Mighty and wonderful Sister Oprah, my Soron sister leader, Joteka. And you know, I'm gonna call the name of a very, very special bro, Joshua. Good evening. Well, sister leaders on this roll call, I love each and every one of you. And if you love me, you will understand that right now, I want and need to speak to all of your members. Thousands and thousands, millions of Black women who responded when Sister Oprah said, come into the circle. Well, my sisters, we know who we are. Sometimes it's as simple as saying how the great Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois described us. We are women of the darker hue. And as the spiritual puts it, we've been viewed and we've been scorned. We've been talked about, sure, as you're born. But no matter how we have been denied our rights, since those first sisters were shackled, tied up, put into the bows of those ships, and sent to be what some would dare to call less than human. We have from that point forward never given in and never given up. And so, in the words that this young generation of Black women would put it, they whispered to the Black woman, "You can't withstand the storm." She put her hands on her hips, took her finger, and she said, "You listen here. I am the storm." Now, my dearest sister, if there was ever a time when we must be the storm, it is in these next 5 days. We will do it because our lives and the lives of our people, the lives of all righteous people, require it. When we get up, go out, head to the polls, we are not going alone. We're going to bring a whole bunch of folk with us. Our family members, our co-workers. We're going to bring our church members. We're going to bring our sisters and our sororities and our important Black women organizations. And we're going to find every brother we know. And we're going to remind them, this is not about if you could. This is about that you must. And so we will not only speak about the fundamental right to vote that is being suppressed when the voter is a Black person, we will push back against that suppression. And the most effective way to do it is to get up, go to those polls, and demand your right to vote. How will we know that we are being affected? We will know that we're being affected because what we need will come forth from an election. That's what an election is. It's about giving people what they need. And we Black women sure know we need our right to our body autonomy. Yes. We need to get from being at the bottom of almost every index. And we need a meaningful education, not only for ourselves, but for our future. Now, we sure need folk to stop killing our people in senseless acts of violence. That's what voting is all about. So as our precious and powerful sister Oprah puts it, we just gotta speak our truth.
Yes.
It is the most powerful tool we all have. And when Sister Oprah speaks of speaking, I know she also means act our truth. So we will not cease. And my sisters, I know that you can get pretty angry these days. In fact, I can tell you in all honesty, I'm having to really make sure that I keep my outrage in its proper form. But let me share with you some words that our writer of all writers, Toni Morrison, said. Toni Morrison said, I get angry, but then I go to work.
Whew.
Anger and outrage are the appropriate responses to what is going on in our country now. With those on the extreme right dare in ways that we thought had ceased to happen to call our humanity into question. And so, dearest sisters, millions of Black women in these national Black women's organizations, let us be motivated like almost we have not been motivated before, to press on, to get it done, to do as our forever first sister, Michelle Obama, puts it. Let us make sure that no one ever estimates the importance that we as Black women have. Because history has shown us that courage can be contagious and hope can take on a life of its own. So my sisters all, onward, onward, and let any and all who dare to doubt the power of Black women hear this. We got a prayer and we got a plan. And we gonna keep on praying and we gonna execute our plan to let nobody turn us
around.
Women around.
Woo.
Woo.
Wow. Wow. Woo. I am the storm, said the Black woman. Dr. Cole, wow. It's not much to say after that. Wow, wow, wow. Oprah, just listening to all of these commitments, the work that all of these amazing leaders are doing, their organizations, as Dr. Cole said, representing millions of Black women who are touching their communities. You know, just any thoughts as you are just seeing all of these leaders and having heard about how they are each owning their votes.
Well, Dr. Cole, it's such a joy to see you sitting there, standing in good health. Praise the Lord for that, first and foremost. I am just so moved by this gathering of all of us tonight. And your presence here, Dr. Cole, has blessed us, as has each of you blessed us by your presence and by your actions. And I can tell you that I started out, as I said, very, very concerned. I still am concerned. I've been so worried about where we are and the lack of discernment and people seeming to have forgotten what is right and wrong. But tonight, this gathering has given me such hope. I am so inspired by all of you and the work that you are doing and will continue to do. And despite all that we see around us, it is possible, we can see this in our gathering tonight. It is possible that when we unite, we become a force. We become a force for good trouble, as Mr. Lewis always said, as Congressman Lewis always said. And so I am so proud of all of us and so thankful to all of us for coming together, owning our voices and owning our votes in this space and recognizing where we've come from, who we are, that we are the storm, and that we get courage from each other. Your courage has been contagious, and I thank you for it.
Powerful. We're right here with you, Oprah. We're right here with you. I think we all feel the power and the emotion that is in this virtual room. We're virtual, but I think we all can feel it in our homes, wherever we are. We can feel the power of us coming together. And Oprah, as you said, it's time for us to get into good trouble, everyone. You know, we'll hear from you again, Oprah, before we close out tonight. But, you know, Oprah started us out and she said it was important for us to make sure that we make a plan. You heard about these organizations. You heard Dr. Janetta Beshko remind us that we are the storm. And in order to do that, we have to take action. And it's important to note that November 8th is not only election day, it's the last day that you can vote. Because in many states, you can vote early and you can vote now. And it's important for us to make sure that between now and November 8th, that we are owning our votes. It's important. Let's make sure we make a plan. Check your voter registration status. If you requested an absentee ballot, and in some states it was automatically sent to you, make sure that you return that ballot. And everybody, if you can, make sure you vote early. We heard Janae and Damon tell us about voter intimidation tactics at the polls. Make sure we are casting as many votes as we can early. If you need to, confirm your polling place and schedule the day that you're going to vote. You can go to vote.org and you can find your polling place and get that pivotal information. And when you go to the polls, as Glenda reminded us, make sure you take your block, your neighborhood, your family, and your friends and help them make a plan. Help them make a plan if they don't have a plan, and make sure that you are encouraging. And we start at our homes and our communities, our churches, everywhere, and make sure that we are reminding those to vote. And on November 8th, when you go to the voting polls, make sure that you bring all of your identification documents with you and stay in line. Please stay in line. If you are in line before the polling place closes, you have every right to continue to stay in that line. Do not let anyone tell you that you have to get out of line. Make sure you stay in that line so you can cast that ballot. And if you have any questions or any challenges while you are voting, make sure that you remember to call 1-866-OUR-VOTE, the election protection hotline. And there will be lawyers and experts that can help get you the answers and the information that you need to ensure that you can vote in spite of the suppression tactics and the intimidation, because it's going to be there, sadly. But as Dr. Cole reminded us, we are the storm. And we have to remember that we create our plans and we will own our votes, everybody. Now, I know we have heard a lot tonight, but I think if you can just walk away with one thing, is that we have to own our votes, make a plan, and cast our votes, because there's so much at stake. We've done it before, and I know we'll do it again. So let's do it again. Now, I'm going to bring up my dear friend and my partner, Joshua Dubois, to introduce our closing speaker for tonight.
Joteka, you hear that thunder building starting to rumble? You get that feeling that lightning's about to strike. This storm is building, you all, and it's a storm for love and justice and hope. something is about to happen here. And listen, we know that with God on our side, nothing is impossible. So we're about to go to a good friend of ours, the interim president and the national general secretary of the National Council of Churches, the first woman bishop in the AME Church and a leader in so many spaces in our country, Bishop Vashti McKenzie, who's going to close us out in prayer. Bishop McKenzie, over to you.
Thank you so much, Joshua, and thank you, Oprah, for convening this evening. I'm inspired, and I know the audience has been inspired as well. It is time for us to express ourselves at the polls. Now let's look to the Lord and pray. Almighty and eternal Savior, we cry aloud today in voices that echoes the voices of our ancestors who cried aloud centuries ago against those who shackled their bodies and their future while they sang songs of joy above a Ghanaian prison. We cry aloud in voices that still cry against the atrocities that tried to imprison souls in the bellies of ships and left indelible fingerprints upon generations yet unborn. Hear yesterday's voices out of today's mouths of stony roads, chastening rods, weary feet, and a way that has been watered by tears and blood. Lord, how long, oh Lord, how long must we suffer from this pestilence of injustice that continues to plague our country? Will you bring justice to your elect who cry to you day and night? By your word, we know you to be just and will curse those who distort justice due to an alien, orphan, or a widow. We know you will maintain the cause of the afflicted and seek justice for the poor. We know that you want us to do good and seek mercy and act justly as your word proclaims, just as we know that evil men do not understand justice. And as it was yesterday, Lord, so it is today. There is an evil that does not understand justice. Lord, deliver us from evil. Forgive us for the moments when justice we were seeking for ourselves, we denied others. Forgive us when we tasted our own freedom and yet were blind by the suffering of someone else. Forgive us when we could not see beyond our own lifetime and we kept waiting for yesterday to show up again. Forgive us when we failed to look beyond our own front door to notice that this continuous pandemic of injustice extends its tentacles of suppression across America, home of the brave and not yet free. Forgive us when we failed to take to the streets or sound the alarm in the richest country in the world that is so still spiritually deprived that it is willing to let multiple people suffer preventable deprivations, excuse conventional wisdom, politicize public health, perpetuating falsehoods, and seeking to destroy the house just to have their way. Jesus, deliver those who are hounded by injustice, systems of brutality. Deliver us, Lord, from those who speak convenient lies as inconvenient truth. Deliver us from those who despise our humanity and embrace our culture and profit off of our pain. Deliver us from policies that dismantle support system, forcing children to do their homework in the backseat of the car that later becomes their dinner table and bedroom. Deliver us from those who bully children, pick on children, prey on children, and from those who have no problem going to bed full while children go to bed hungry. Deliver us from those who deny Black and brown bodies food security, affordable housing, fresh, clean water, quality free education, access to opportunities to climb out of the pits of poverty and out of the cesspools of self-medication because of the trauma of racism that somehow is a crime in the neighborhood and a medical problem at the country club. Deliver us and empower us to take a knee against the knees of the necks of our existence, to take a knee against the knees that suffocate our voices and cutting off the same breath that a deadly virus is trying to take out of our lungs. Empower us to take our knees and the knees of our neighbors to polling places, to put our knee on policies that dismantle civil and social gains of previous generations. Empower us with fresh vision, divine revelation, and the power of the Holy Spirit to step in new directions to solve old problems. Come, Holy Spirit, with your quickening power, that we may do more than lift our voices to sing and pray, but lift our hands and move our feet to the polls and find the polling place now. Check and recheck our registration now. Hook up our ride now. Take somebody with us now and vote. But there are those who are counting on us, Lord, to fall for the yoke-doke, who will counting on those of us who will be swayed by foolishness, counting on us to be scared, intimidated, and stay home and quit, but we won't, because by your power and your might standing up in us, we will stand on your word to be courageous and strong. We will stand and will not be discouraged, for you will go with us wherever you go. That's what you said in your word, and we believe it. Right now, we will not be terrified. We will not be afraid, for we are the storm by your grace. By your power and might, help us to send a clear message that we may be turning back the clock this weekend, but we will not turn back America. Stand up in us so we can stand up to be justice seekers and justice supporters in this present age of repression and oppression. Deliver us from evil, for yours is still the kingdom, yours is still the power, yours is still the glory, and thank God it is forever and ever. And let the church say amen. And
Amen.
amen.
Amen. Hallelujah and amen. Come on now, Bishop
gosh.
McKenzie. Wow.
Bishop
Oh, my
McKenzie. Wow.
Wow. Oprah, what a night. My goodness. Any final
Well,
words?
we did it. We did this thing. We did this thing. We brought us all together, and I am so fired up. Obviously, what we learned here tonight, we're at a crossroads. And we have made a decision that we're not just going to let things happen. We're going to make things happen. And all of you on this call and all of the people that you will be in contact with after this call are going to make sure that we go out and we maintain this level of motivation and spirit and courageousness and hope. I am fired up. And let's all just remember our why and ensure that we not only own our votes, but we tell everybody, as the bishop just said, that we know how important this is. And so there's so much at stake, so much at stake. And we don't want to be like that Joni Mitchell song that says, it doesn't always seem to go that you don't know what you've got until it's gone. We don't want that to happen to us, because we already know the truth. Thank you all so much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Oprah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Powerful, powerful inspiration. It's been a beautiful, inspirational night, everyone. We want to thank all of our panelists. We want to thank all of our partners, and we want to thank each and every one of you who joined us tonight, all of you from all over the country for joining us tonight. We encourage you to make a plan. We encourage you to take friends to the poll. And most importantly, make sure that you own your vote. Thank you and good night.
Bless you all. Thank you.